Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for our BOMA KC Practical Education Program, Snow and Ice, featuring Martz Brothers Snow Management. Welcome, Martz Brothers. I want to do a little introduction.
Good morning, all. This is Dwayne with Martz Brothers, and Jim is socially distanced behind me.
Good morning, everybody out there in COVID TV land.
And we've got Bob, socially distanced a couple offices away, Bob Gregovich. And Martz Brothers has been doing snow removal in Kansas City for about 25 years. And we're grateful to be given the opportunity today to present today. And we hope to make it not suck too badly. So are we going now? Basically, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough, and like Crystal said, just ask questions at any point. We're going to do kind of a two-part discussion. We've got a PowerPoint can everybody see the PowerPoint? Okay. We're just going to talk about residential snow removal briefly, and then we'll talk about commercial snow removal briefly. Stop us at any point if you want. Going to kind of talk fast just so it doesn't go too long and it's not too boring. But just to start off, just like doing any job, the best thing you can do for any job is pick the right tool. And we feel like for especially residential snow removal, the right tool is the right shovel to scrape snow. And we prefer the shovel. You can see it's called the Snowcaster. You can buy it on Amazon. We are going to give one away, maybe two away today somewhere in the presentation. So try to pay attention. It's not too boring. And basically, this is a 30-inch shovel. It definitely makes scraping your driveway faster. Here's another view of it. And sometimes we'll even put two shovels together. And I do that on our driveway, especially if it's less than an inch. It just makes it a lot faster. The one thing about scraping your driveway, if you're home, especially if you're working from home and you get a 4 or 5 inch snowfall, it just makes it so much easier if you scrape it in the morning when there's 1.5 inches on it. Do it again in the middle of the day and then again at night. If you let 5 inches accumulate, it's kind of tough to scrape. This shovel it's surprising what you can get off of a paved surface with this type of a plastic shovel. This is the recent storm we just had a few weeks ago. Surprisingly, there was some sleet mixed in, and this is on a parking deck on the plaza. And if you turn the shovel the regular way where you normally push it, it just bounces over sleet. If you turn it upside down like this and scrape back and forth, it's pretty surprising how well it'll take sleet, even stuck down sleet, off of a paved surface. Didn't have a picture of actual chopping ice, but it's quite surprising how well you can chop ice with this plastic shovel, especially if we have an ice storm that has a pre-treatment underneath so that the snow and ice do not bond to the pavement. But the best way to get, if you've seen those storms in Kansas City where we have 1 inch or more of just thick packed ice, and the normal way most people try to grab a metal shovel and scrape it up, but sometimes it leaves so much underneath versus just turning the shovel over this way and chopping it off in small chunks. It's a long process, but it seems to work the best. It'll just chop it off and just keep moving forward, and it'll chop it off in 1 or 2 inch chunks that are long. One way, if you have a really big driveway, one of the best ways to tackle that is to just take a pass down the middle and then go side to side. I'm sure a lot of you already do this, but Bob told me to put it in there, so I did. If you do choose, some people don't treat their driveway, especially if it faces the right direction and you scrape it off and it's got really good sun. You may not need to treat your driveway with ice melt. But if you do, choose a good product. This is a 4-way blend, and try to find a blend of ice melts. If you use one, like a magnesium chloride only, it could do more damage than if you have a 4-way blend of potassium, magnesium, sodium, and calcium. This particular product that we use is very top of the line. It also has a small amount of corrosion inhibitor included. So one of the best ways to treat your driveway is just to, if you do treat it, is just to spread it by hand. Get a 5-gallon bucket, put your ice melt in there for storage to keep it from caking up, and just get a cup and just spread it out really evenly on the driveway. The best thing you can do is to scrape more and de-ice less. And this is something we try to tell our crews a lot. Just continue to scrape more, and then it allows you to use less product on the paved surface. So that kind of concludes the residential side. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions or if we should just move into the commercial side.
No, I love that. So will you repeat the name of the shovel that you recommended and just your tip again about what type of ice melt product? You said it's I think a 4-way blend.
Okay, yeah, the shovel we use is this type of a shovel that Jim
Which, when he was talking about flipping it over and using it this way, I'm sure all of you have left during a snowstorm and haven't had the chance to scrape your driveway until you got home, and then you have to deal with your packed down tire tracks. So dealing with those, flipping it over and using it like that really gets those tire tracks that have been packed down a lot easier. So that's another good little tip.
That is good.
Good point. The ice melt, I looked it up this morning, and I was hoping to give somebody like a place to go find good ice melt, but I don't really know where to find it on, in the residential side. A 4-way blend of, and it doesn't have to be a 4-way blend, a 3-way blend. We just feel like if you put magnesium chloride only or one of those types of materials on there, it could do more damage. Having said that, scrape more and de-ice less, and just spread it out evenly. Just use less product material, and that will help. But the blend that I mentioned was sodium chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium, and calcium chloride. And in this case, ours has a little bit of a corrosion inhibitor and a tracking agent as well. That's also helpful. Good point, Jim. If you can see the ice melt in the bucket is blue, that helps to see where you've spread it. If it's white and you're spreading it onto a snowy surface, it's tough to tell how much you put down.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right. No other good questions? We're going to talk a little bit about commercial snow removal on your properties. And one of the things that we are constantly trying to do at Martz Brothers is just improve our methods. And one component of that is to decrease property damage. And so we are, for sidewalks, one of the things we mentioned, scrape more and de-ice less earlier. We're more and more every year using a lot more of these rotary style brooms. This one is a walk behind broom. It helps get closer down to the pavement and just get a cleaner surface, which means we can use less material and less ice melt. We are also ramping up and utilizing a lot more of this type of equipment. This Toro Grandstander it'll take 2 to 3 to 4 inches of snow off and clean down to a pretty nice paved surface, which allows us to use less material. And it also, this particular machine, we feel like takes the place of about 6 men on the job because it's so efficient. This is another, this one is a closed cab heated machine, and we can broom in the front. And on properties where, especially where we have to travel a lot of distances in between buildings, like this particular one in Edgerton, there's a lot of buildings down there and they're pretty far apart. So if we broom it with the front mechanism, and then as they're driving through grooming, we're able to treat with liquid salt brine as we go, and that just speeds up the process. We're utilizing a lot more liquid salt brine whenever it's possible and applicable. It reduces tracking into the buildings, and it has a lot of benefits to helping snow keep from bonding to the pavement. So one other thing that we're doing to try to reduce property damage is utilizing this type of a plow rather than a metal plow, and especially on like a parking deck surface, but we are really utilizing many of these. This is just a concept of an old combine or tractor track that we purchase, and in this case, we build the C bracket, and we turned into a plow. This also helps keep rubber tracks from ending up in the landfill. And so we will drive as far as Chicago, Iowa. We have Bob spends a lot of time finding tracks on farms where people just don't need them anymore. Rather than throwing them in the landfill, we'll drive out, pick them up, and turn them into plows like this one. And here's just a picture of it on a skid loader. You can see the edges of this are going to be great for cleaning curb edges versus running a metal plow up against that curb edge, which would scrape it up. This is just a cleaner, less damaging type of method to clean those curb edges. So
that's so cool.
Let me see if I can.
Those?
What's that?
You make those? Like you'll just come away with a big old tractor tire, and then Bob's outside making that for you? Bob.
Let's be clear, I'm not making anything.
Bob's got a background in metal though, like in fabrication. And so we had a property, FedEx, where we needed to scrape under the trailers, and he came in with a design, really awesome design of one of these where we can scrape out to the left up taller and then get down lower to get under those trailers. And so we've got a full fab shop. He designed it. We bought the tracks, built it out of metal, and sent it out to FedEx, and we're able to use it to scrape under those trailers.
That's really cool. I love the innovation. You needed something and you guys designed it. That's cool.
They're also really good for parking decks with traffic coatings. If you have a parking deck that requires a rubber edge on a plow, instead of converting a standard truck with a rubber plow that may only be used at that parking deck, we'll just drop one of these rubber blades at the top, and it prevents the damage of traffic coating or membrane or whatever it is on your deck.
We almost exclusively use this type of plow on parking decks.
That's really interesting. You can share, guys.
Let me see if I can. If it's not easy, I'm going to mess something up. Yeah, just go. Okay. So there may be some questions about this that could win a shovel. We're just throwing in some random facts about thaw refreeze cycles in Kansas City. If you go to Fort Myers, Florida, they're probably going to have 0 thaw refreeze cycles. Tucson at 9. Kansas City at 79 thaw refreeze cycles. And this is just something that is worth mentioning. When you see potholes on the side of the road or all over the highways, or you see damaged concrete, a lot of times that is caused by thaw refreeze, which, during the day it warms up, water infiltrates into the paved surface, and then at night when it freezes, it expands, and that's a lot of times what causes popping on highways and bridges, and sometimes on properties. But you can see Kansas City has 79 thaw refreeze cycles, which is quite a few.
Another good indicator I like to look at in the spring after a rough winter of multiple thaw refreezes. If you look, we've got a lot of rock ledges, cliffs down some of our highways, especially down by 18th Street, closer to downtown. You'll see a lot of those rocks in the spring after a rough winter have fallen off of those sides of cliffs. And that's usually a good indicator of multiple or many thaw refreezes or a rough winter, because that water's getting in between those rocks, freezing, expanding, and popping and breaking them off. Kind of fun fact.
Okay. This is this is a picture of my driveway, and this happened the year after we moved in. The first freeze that we had after the year we moved into our house just a few years ago, the concrete, I mean, it was already several years old, but it was in great shape. And I noticed little chunks of concrete all over the driveway one morning. And as I looked closer, I noticed that it was caused by popping. And it was, what it is just the shale. Brandon can speak to this, in the concrete. When they finish the concrete, the shale and the aggregate rise up to the top, and those little rocks that are underneath the surface will expand when it gets cold, and they cause popping on the driveway.
But make it, point out the fact that you don't use any ice melt on your driveway.
Well, I do if it's the right conditions, but I hadn't ever used ice melt on at this point, so that is true.
So would ice melt have prevented that, or would ice melt cause more damage if you're not using the right kind?
Well, and I'll let Brandon maybe answer this too. I think he's probably got some thoughts on it, but I don't think that ice melt would have caused or prevented it. It would have happened regardless. It can happen, I think, in the summertime also, just by expansion of that aggregate. It doesn't necessarily have to be from a freeze.
Ice melt does enhance the number of thaw refreezes.
Yeah, ice melt can create a thaw refreeze cycle that may not have happened. So that is a fact.
Brandon,
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, everything you're saying is accurate, and it can happen in the summer also, just because the heats up and expands, and that's why when you have the caulking at joints and stuff in the concrete, it starts to pull away after a little while, and that can happen in the summer just as easily as in the winter time.
Here's proof of that. This was recently a sidewalk this picture was taken in Fort Myers, and I doubt that there's a lot of freezing going on in that area, but there's a lot of popping based on what, kind of consistent with Brandon just said. So that brings us to the next point, which is, how do you protect your property? How do you protect your concrete and if you have a property with a parking deck, how do you protect that surface, which is by square foot, obviously your most expensive component on your property? So one way is with a traffic coating, and if you can keep water, chemicals, fuel, oil from penetrating into the substrate of that surface, it's going to make it last longer. And this is a great method. This will and by the way, this is a very expensive method, as you all know, but there are some less expensive saline sealers that are also effective. If you seal the pores in that concrete, it helps keep those chlorides and materials from going into that surface. One thing to note is, if you have a parking deck that, let's just say we used a product that is approved for airplanes, so it's not corrosive. If we use that product on a parking deck, it feels like we're doing something to help protect it, and we are, but cars are driving up there, and if it's not sealed, they're packing salt up there anyway. So cars are dripping chemicals, and they're dropping salt onto that parking deck regardless. So especially on parking deck surfaces, we worry a lot about these, and we try to help you protect them because they're expensive. So just think about sealing them. Another interesting fact, or at least we think it's interesting, treatable events in Kansas City. This is just a snapshot of the past about 7 winter seasons, treatable events. And last year we had in 1920, we had 23 treatable events. What we call a treatable event, it could be a small ice storm, it could be a big snowstorm, it could be a large ice storm. One thing to note, 23 treatable events is a lot of treatable events, and some of those storms could have multiple days of ice. So a treatable event could be a 2-day ice storm. So those type of events require, a lot of times multiple treatments to help keep people safer. Here's just another, just a bar graph of the same information for treatable events in Kansas City. And this is probably a good time to maybe give away a shovel. And let's just see who can text Crystal or chat Crystal first with how many thaw refreeze cycles we have in Kansas City. And the first person will get a shovel.
Just unmute yourself and say it, the first person.
Do it.
Anyone?
Nobody?
23.
Good guess, Barry.
79.
Woo! Who's that?
Brandon. Brandon.
Brandon was paying attention.
Good job.
Kathy put it in the chat first, I think, technically.
Who did?
Yeah, Kathy
Kathy.
Crossan beat Brandon to it.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, Brandon.
Oh,
No,
no,
that's fine. Good job, Kathy.
no, it actually was Shannon Odell.
I'm guessing that we could give another one if somebody knows how many treatable events we had last year.
23.
There's Barry. Do you have one of these shovels, Barry?
There you go.
No, I want one.
Do you have a pen and paper? So it looks like we've got.
Sorry for the confusion. Shannon messaged me privately first, so you all couldn't see that, but my chat opened and there she was.
So Shannon's got one also.
Yeah.
We're doing 3 shovels today.
Shannon, Brandon, and Barry.
Oh, exciting.
Yay.
Shannon, Brandon, and Barry.
Yay.
So that's the end of the presentation.
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
Surprise. Okay, you said that you use ice melt when conditions apply and like would warrant that. What are the conditions that warrant using ice melt?
Well, that's a good question. It pretty much with our litigious society, any conditions on a property where we have liability exposure require ice melt. I use ice melt on my driveway. If I don't use it, if when I scrape it off, it's in the full sun and it's just, it's coming clean. But we don't have that luxury on properties, and a lot of times there's shade over properties. You can't. It's tough to know where you can and cannot use ice melt. So we use it on every storm after we scrape. But if on my driveway, there are times we face north. So if there are times when I can't get it clean, I obviously treat it because we have liability at our house as well, and we don't want anybody falling in our driveway.
Right. So like at your house, you would just use it if when you go out there and scrape it, you're not getting it clean. That's the only time you would use
Correct.
it. Not before it's supposed to ice is not the appropriate time for you to do that.
You know what? It really is. If you want to get your driveway cleaner, it's a good idea to put it down. I just happen to have a 14-year-old that scrapes a lot. So he's out there the entire storm, and I don't necessarily have to worry about it as much because I know he's going to cover it. But if we're going to have an ice storm and you want to make sure when you come home you can get it clean, it's a good idea to toss some ice melt underneath.
Okay. That's a good tip. Okay, who else has questions? I know I can't be the only person that's been thinking about questions for snow and ice.
I feel like this is a dumb question, but you said if your driveway's facing the right way, meaning like if you have like an east facing house, like so it gets the most sun, is that what you're saying? So like if my house faces north, we're probably going to have snow that sticks around longer?
Yeah, my driveway faces east, so east or south facing driveway, generally is going to get more sun. So, if you scrape it in the morning and the sun starts popping out, it's your personal driveway and not something that, like Dwayne was talking about, that we've got liability of customers, patrons, employees walking in. You could probably forego some ice melt, and the sun would, not every time, but sometimes melt that for you. Instead of like his north-facing driveway, without any type of event in the forecast, it just happened to get down to, I don't even think it was below freezing. They were washing their car one day, and I think it was 33, 34 degrees, and it turned to ice. So north-facing driveway.
And I fell on my butt because I didn't expect it. That's the first thing.
So yeah, north-facing north-facing surfaces are difficult and unpredictable for sure.
Cool.
And like the news tells us, bridges and overpasses ice up faster.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was not a stupid question, Colby. Good job.
Where do you take all the snow from Arrowhead?
Well, this year it's gonna be pretty easy because 15,000 people out there, so we've got a lot of space to stash it. But generally, we put it on site. They expanded that gravel lot down there to Lot O, and we just go as far back to the west as possible, right there by the training facility, and we get a big dozer and we dump it, and the dozer just keeps pushing it higher and higher and higher. So right there on site. We actually are headed there in about an hour and a half to go meet with them.
That's exciting. Okay, who else has more questions? Nothing?
Colby, your dog looks like she has a question.
Oh my gosh, that dog is so sweet. He's in all of our videos.
Every single Zoom call, he wants to be known that he's here.
What's his name?
Tucker. I shove him away the entire time and he just keeps coming back. So sometimes I just let it happen.
There's another one on her lap too.
Yes.
Always there. Yeah.
She doesn't like to be on the camera, but she's here always also.
We love them.
Well, it's good to see you all, and thank you guys for listening. And I think that was a pretty good presentation. So hope you all have a fabulous rest of the week. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. I can maybe go get a refill on my coffee.
Well, thank you all for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, y'all. I will deliver shovels to
Shannon, Brandon, and Barry.
yeah, I was just trying to figure out, do you want me to bring them to the office?
I think Kathy actually beat me in the chat, so I think Kathy should get the shovel. So
We'll do 4 of them. I need to write it down though. My memory is not good.
I mean, everybody was at the same time, Dwayne. Shannon,
Yeah, we'll do 4 of them.
and Amelia.
Amelia was in there too.
Yes,
That's fine.
I mean,
it's hard to be fair. We don't have a stopwatch or a
I
camera
will
photo finish.
say, it was the chat. Tell Crystal in the chat. No.
Okay. So Brandon, Shannon, Amelia, Barry, and Kathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
I know what I'm doing this afternoon or tomorrow.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
Thank you all for joining. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. If you're an emerging professional, quick plug, we do have a trivia event tomorrow evening from 4 to 5. Please register. If you have someone in your office that's an EP that's under 40 with less than 7 years of experience, you do not have to be a member to participate. Registration is online, or they can get in touch with me. And for everybody else, we have a fun Thanksgiving bingo on Monday. So be sure to register for that. Okay, thank you all. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye all.
Bye, y'all.